Oh, thanks, Harry. She asked me to record it and I completely forgot. And so that this is a dialogue. It's not a monologue. And so that means that I'm going to ask for sharing. So I'm going to be asking for your thoughts. What's your experience? What's your understanding? What are your challenges? I want us to come together monthly and be discussing all of these diverse things of what it is around self-actualizing. So it's definitely not a monologue. You'll certainly get sick of my voice. These conversations are conversations of discovery beyond our patterns. And as we discover, we can get curious together. Curious is awesome. Because curious means we can actually just come together and play. Play for what's possible. Play for what it's like to tap in to our potentials. Anyone keen for that? Yeah, good. And so this is part of a connecting process when we're connecting to, here at the coaching room to provide you guys an ongoing container of value for our community and people that are new to the community. Just show of hands, who's currently part of our community? I recognise lots of you. So awesome to see you all again. Some I haven't seen for a little. Who's new to the community? Who's new to the coaching room? It's like, I haven't been here before. I saw, yeah, well, welcome. Lovely to have you. And so we want to provide this ongoing container of value for our community, for our coaches, for our potential coaches, for our current facilitators, for leaders, for parents, for partners, ultimately for self-actualizers, where we can actually support you in this self-actualizing process. So I just said earlier, this is a space for us to get beyond our patterns, moving into autonomy. Autonomous meaning power within you. Self-actualized as opposed to heteronomous. I struggle with that word. Heteronomous, which is a non-autonomous way of being. Heteronomy speaks to power over you from the outside. And so self-actualized is moving into this autonomous way of being. So the offer from here is to be hungry for conversation, be hungry for discussion around topics. I want to hear from you. Hey, can we talk about this one month? This came up for me in our last conversation. I was talking with someone the other day and I got curious about the connection to self-actualizing. Can we discuss that? So topic suggestions, bring it all. There'll be times where certain things come up in our sessions and I might go, let's hold that and let's use this for another topic. So the magic is in our interaction. Yeah, it's not just me, it's all of us. The magic exists in our interaction. We're good? Anyone like to share anything before we jump on in? Loving to see the chat box in action, guys.
Anyone? I'm excited. Well, I can share. I'm really excited. Yeah, just excited to be here. With curiosity and looking forward to this organic unfolding of the group. So yeah.
Lovely, welcome, lovely to hear from you and to see you. Anyone else move to share right now? Good. All right, so let's jump in. Self-actualization, what it is, self-actualizing conversations. Today is not about getting into the history of it. We're going to do that another time. Today we're getting into what are the qualities of a self-actualized human being. And so before we do that, we'll get into some of the nuances of what self-actualization actually is, what it actually means. For those of you who go, yeah, I'm curious about it, I've heard about it, but I'm not really sure. So we'll talk about it. It's a term that's been coined by Abraham Maslow, an American psychologist he developed a hierarchy of needs, a pyramid of human psychological needs. And everyone familiar with that hierarchy of needs? Anyone seen that before? Anyone not seen it? That's good. All right, so we might have a slide, we might not have a slide. We don't necessarily need it. I'll just explain it. So we've got this hierarchy of needs that Abraham Maslow developed. And what he talks about is that there's a bottom level, there's a physical base needs. So what we start at this base level of needs of our base needs of, we need air, right? We need oxygen to survive. We need water, we need food. We have needs essential to our survival. Without them, no longer here, right? And so they're our physical base needs. From those physical base needs, we move up to our safety needs. We've got our needs met in terms of survival, and then we've got safety needs. We need shelter. We need to be protected from the cold, from the extremities of the world. We have safety needs around being, you know, assaulted, we attacked, like injured. Our basic needs of safety, we need to have that need met. Right? And so these are our lower level needs that are necessary for survival and safety. From there, we move into belonging needs. The next level is belonging needs. And this is where, did that slide come up at all, Harriet, or not? I can't hear you, honey. Just might be useful for our lovely visual peeps. If not, that's fine. From there, we move from our safety needs to belonging needs. Now, belonging needs is, look where we are right now, this sense of community, this part of a tribe, this connection. This is where friendship exists. This is where love, this is where intimate relationships exist. And so there are our needs to belong with each other. All right. There is a visual on the Eventbrite page if you'd like to see that. And so this is where we belong with each other, this need for connection. Now, for me, from here, I have that need, right? Anyone else have that need? Anyone else like to connect? Yeah, right, which is obvious, right? We're here together right now. And so that's our belonging needs. And then from there, we move to self-esteem needs. And that's the needs of being recognized, right? A need for feeling significant in the world. A need to feel value at some level. And so then we've got our self-esteem needs. Yeah. And then we start moving into self-actualization at the top of the pyramid. And this is the need for growth. This is the need to realize your potential. I'm not sure about you, but does anyone have a sense like that they've got this sense of something really full of their potentials within them? It's just waiting to come out. There's something inside of them that there's a bit more than that's possible for them. And so that's what Maslow's speaking to. And then he's saying, unless these lower level needs are met, we're limited in terms of pursuing these higher needs. There's the slide. She's got the slide now. We'll have a quick look at that now that it's up, Harriet. We'll skip slide to the actual pyramid, honey. There it is. And so when we move into these self-actualizing needs, we're moving into growth needs, a growth mindset, a focus. It's about developing one's talents. It's about expression of one's potential. It's about really stepping in to our own power. And so that's a really super, super simplistic definition. And we're going to pull all these needs apart over these conversations. We're going to look at, where does coaching fit in here? Where does therapy fit in here? Where does psychology fit in with regards to these needs? And so we will be pulling that apart over the next few months. We can probably lose the slide now. Thanks, Harriet. So any questions on that? We all got that. Anyone want to talk about that? Conversations with Madeline.
I'm happy to go. Yeah.
Who's that?
Rose again. Sorry. Hello.
Hey, Rose.
I've just had a coffee, so I'm all like happy to
Good.
talk.
Me too.
Yeah, I love being, I've known about that for a long time at work. I use that as a youth worker and as a coach for years. But I love being reminded of the detail of it. And I love being reminded when I catch myself feeling like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Why can't I X, Y, Z? And then I realize like, oh, again, from lockdowns, basic needs, sense of belonging, like there has been personal experience of this sliding down in the last few years. But I haven't been able to really crudely articulate, well, that's why I'm anxious, or that's why I've had to put the growth on hold because, people losing jobs, I'd lost work. And so it was, it's great to always be reminded that that it is a sliding scale, and for me, it creates a sense of ease and perspective. It's okay. Like some stuff just might have to wait while the other things are, even though I've experienced being hierarchy. So I love the visual aid and that reminder of the hierarchy. It's a great tool, I think, whether you're a coach or not, just to remind yourself and check in.
Yeah, I mean, coaching is for some of us aren't coaches, some of us, whatever space we're actually working in, it's really not about what we do, it's about who we are as human beings and actualizing our fullest potential as a human, not in terms of career. That's a byproduct, right? That's a bonus, but it's like stepping into our own power, our own autonomy as human beings.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about some of the awesome characteristics of what it is to be self-actualized. And I'm sure a lot of you will recognize some of those qualities already that are within you. Because they are already within you. They already exist within you. And that's really the whole point. So what does it mean to, thank you, Rose. What's it actually mean to be self-actualized?
No.
Is that you, Sasha?
Yeah, I didn't have myself on mute. I was saying, I suppose what came up then for me is we never get there. It's never we are going to be self-actualized. No, it's always a growth. There's a never ending.
Sure. And so it's not, I think what I'm hearing you say is it's not necessarily a destination. It's not like, it's like a process. It's an unfolding. It's like stepping into all that is possible for us, right? It's not about like, yeah, made it, good, what's next? It's not about that. So it's lovely. It's really insightful what you've just shared. Thank you, Sasha. Sandy, you've got your hand up.
Hi, Mads. How are you?
Well, thank you.
I think one of the things that comes to mind straight away when you talked about the actualization is freedom. So that, that potentiality, that opening up to all possibilities, it's a great sense of freedom.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Without that sense of power outside of you, right? That drive to belong, that drive to get self-esteem, that drive that to feel safe and secure
in yourself, so your own self-empowered freedom.
Very nice.
I like it.
Thank you for sharing.
Mads, what comes up for me with it is that I was listening to a podcast yesterday about the economy and how, based on what we see and we hear, how we can get dragged down very quickly down to those bottom layers, and then it's an evolution, and depending where we are in our life, we go up and down, and environment can impact on that as well.
100%. We hear on this stuff on the news, there's going to be a recession, interest rates are going up, and we start to worry about that security need. Oh, am I going to be okay? Am I secure? Now my sense of security is starting to be at attack. Now I'm starting to be had by that. Yeah, great point. Thank you, Joanne.
Hi, Madeline, it's Sid.
Hey, Sid.
I've got a question now. Since its foundation, has Maslow's hierarchy of needs been kind of widely and wholesale accepted, or has there been any kind of credible or accepted alternative to this?
So there's versions of this, but a lot of a lot of people's work has grown from this. A lot of people will have like a career, like take a coach, for example, or people that are working in psychology. A lot of their work's around working with people in those lower level needs specifically. Therapy, for example, really exists. The work that's existing in therapy is really at those base level needs, that sense of security and safety and survival needs, because these higher level needs aren't being met, and that's where neurosis starts to happen for people. And so some people are basing their work, but it's widely accepted, Maslow's work. There may be some people that dispute it or question it. I'm sure there is, not that I'm aware of, I can't specifically pinpoint who. It's a great question, but there's a lot of, this has become the foundation of a lot of other modalities and another lot of lenses to look at and as the person, for sure. Great question. Thank you, Sid. So can we agree that as human beings, we all have needs, right? We've all got needs. So just think about it for a second. Like, what are some of the needs that we've got? What are some of your needs? Connection for me, sure. That's why I'm so moved to be here with you guys. Love it, right? This will, my day today, I'll be like, had an awesome day, met with all these amazing people. What else? Thank you, Teresa. Food, yeah.
Does spirituality for those people who have a faith,
sure,
or faith, coming in between self-esteem and belonging?
Sure. Well,
somewhere there.
It could come into both, right?
Or actualization, depending on the individual.
Or it could come into all of those, faith, what faith brings and what spirituality brings, for sure.
I've just been thinking, Mads, about the word needs, like some, it's sort of requirements, and I understand that they are needs, but it's a bit of a loaded word in some ways, especially if you're working with teenagers. Everything is a need. But obviously, depending on your socioeconomic situation, I'd say that a lot of these ones, especially on the bottom, are essential requirements, right?
Sure.
For living, for safety. But if you're comfortable, you're not necessarily thinking about them all the time.
Yeah.
Except for, in the situation that Rose described, where suddenly you're told you have to stay at home and you can't walk and you can't this, that, right? So I think sometimes we take these essential requirements for healthy living, if that's what we're calling this need, I don't know, for granted. But say a sponsored child in a different country, that's actually the level that they're working in for themselves.
Sure. That's a genuine need. That's a definite, a lower level need. Whereas for you might have those needs met, and then at the higher level, it's what you're really moved to do. You're talking about, Bilal made a point, like need versus desire, right? Whereas this, in that third world country, that need's not being met in terms of actual food going in, as opposed to choice of healthy food or not for you. What's everyone else think to Lynn's point? Let's get some conversation happening. Brad, your hand's up.
Yeah, Madeline, it just made me think there about needs, about in some ways actualization is, I think, having fewer needs or having few actual real essential needs. I've coined this term, or been referring to things as preferred indifference these days, like things that you'd prefer to have, but you're not clinging to them, you're not attached to them, you're not actually seeing them as a need, even though they may be.
Sure. So it's that you're
losing that
to be there, yeah,
and that sort of belief somewhat that I've got this, so kind of no matter the circumstance. that, you know, I can handle it, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm having trouble, a little bit of trouble. Can everyone hear Brad okay? Could be me. I'm having a little bit of trouble, but what I think I heard you say is that there's a difference between having that deficiency need to wanting to move into that space by choice. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Brad. Anyone else?
Well, just bringing it, sorry, Matt, Kevin.
Hey, Kev.
Just bringing it sort of closer, I suppose, to what's happened with the COVID and with the lockdowns, when needs were actually right. So all of a sudden, our need to go out wherever, whenever we wanted. I mean, everything from social to buying food to everything was suddenly restricted, and it was incredible how everyone immediately went into third person and started sort of fighting for protesting and you know,
toilet paper.
Sorry,
Toilet.
Well,
Very important.
Where technology has increased at an incredible rate, whereas when what we've taken for granted has been taken away, the awareness to go, this too shall pass, totally went out the window, and everyone went, well, they're doing it, so I should, so I don't miss out.
Yeah, well, what you've just spoken to, Kev, is what happens when those lower level needs aren't met. Guess what? We need to get those lower level needs to fulfill our higher level needs. And so when the toilet roll gets taken away and potential foods are off the shelf, we're going straight in to survival needs and safety needs and security and all that. You know, I'm here to survive. And elbow grandma out the way in the aisle to get the last toilet roll.
But what's interesting in that is that, I mean, the government came out and said, look, we produce, or Australia produces 95% of everything that we need or that we eat. And we produce it for a population of 60 million when we're sitting on, what, 23 or 24 million. But people sort of like totally ignored that because it was, all they were concentrating on is my freedom has been taken away and I don't like it.
Yeah, because of this drive to fulfill that basic lower level need. Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Kev. Sandy, did you have your hand up earlier?
I did, but it's okay. I'll just wait for the next.
Okay.
Thanks.
Melody, can you hear me?
I can, Melody. Yeah.
Is it a knowing of what the distinction between our needs and our wants?
Yes.
At this point?
Yes, we're going to get into that shortly. Great point. We'll jump into that in a moment. Thank you, Melody. Charlotte, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself. There you go.
No, I thought I did, and then I double.
Yeah, that's okay.
What's interesting about this model, it's quite an old model, but actually having a look at it from the person who asked the question about the modification since it was created, is self needs and social needs, I think, kind of flip around. And when you're having that conversation, that chat just before about coronavirus, some people's social needs, they didn't want them in the first place. You know, so they went into, they were able to just kind of have more self, you know, priority and actually do away with that. I think just the modifications due to having technology.
100%, and also where they're at in terms of their stage of development, in terms of their own self-actualization, whether they had a struggle or whether they just shifted, whether they had autonomy or not. And so it really was evident when COVID and lockdowns and all those things hit, it really showed up that cross-section of what's happening in society. And so we all have, thank you, Charlotte, we all have needs, you know, this social interaction, being part of a community, a sense of significance, a sense of connection. And yet many people don't recognize the need to live to their fullest potential. And what Maslow speaks to is that it's not a luxury. It's not something that's nice. It's not something, oh, that'd be nice to have. Yeah, I'll try and go and get some of that one day, a bit of my own potential. And I'll put that on the to-do list. And he's saying it's not a luxury. In his book, it's a book called Toward a Psychology of Being. And he's saying if you do not honor this, if you're not living up to your fullest potential, what you know and what you're capable of, in his words, it says it's going to rot you from the inside out. It's going to lead to psychological dysfunction. It's going to lead to neurosis. And that's what he's communicating in his book. And his message is really to say, ignore it at your own risk. He speaks to the body, that you know, our body, we have nutritional needs, right? We have a vitamin need. Take a vitamin need. We have a vitamin need to function optimally. Now, you take a vitamin like, say, I don't know, vitamin D. I've been deficient in vitamin D, didn't know it until I got chronic back pain. Didn't even occur to me that it could be vitamin D, right? So we have this very subtle need of a vitamin, like these very small things, and we don't even consider that we've got a deficiency in it. But if we stay deficient in it long enough, it can become a huge problem. And so it's the same thing in that with regards to striving and moving, unleashing your fullest potential. You don't have a problem, but then you start settling for second best. You stop seeking, you stop moving into your growth, into what's possible for you, and it becomes a problem on the inside. And then lots of people, they go about self-actualizing in terms of meeting those lower level needs. They go, I've got plenty of security. Yep, I've got a great house. I've got the caravan. I've got I've got everything, met all those lower level needs. And yet there's this something in them where they're not feeling fulfilled, right?
So they go and buy a boat.
Yeah, they go get a boat, right? Have you ever read books or seen people interviewed, multi-millionaires, leading CEOs, and yet they're not happy? There's something that's still missing. That's what Maslow's talking about.
Mads, it's great to give the reference to the body as your example, it's incredible how things will show up in our body.
Say more, Sandy. Tell us more.
Well, as a practitioner, working with that every day. And so it's not just the inefficiencies, but it's stuff we store, it's the trauma, it's stress, it's a whole bunch of stuff. But with your example with the deficiency of vitamin D, and there was your body telling you. So listening to the body and understanding that it carries it all is so important to unleashing that potentiality and getting to that, So it's a great reminder that you just gave us. Yeah, that's really cool.
Good. Thank you.
I'd like to share as well. There's a saying which I love, which is "Don't die with the music in you." And I didn't realize how much it links to what you just said. The thing that I find interesting is I've had partners who have said to me, I'm just not like you. I'm not obsessed with growth. I'm happy where I am.
Sure.
And they've been ones that have had, what you just mentioned, the money, the huge house, and that stability at lower levels. And I guess there's also the personality type, isn't there? And some of us will grow more than others. And, what is the fullest potential? Is it different for each one of us humans?
Sure. I mean, it's about like tapping into what's true for you. It's about like daring to take that risk. It's about stepping into that out of your comfort zone. But it's what each their own, right? It's like it's not to say, well, look at me self-actualizing and look at you not wanting to do that. It's like if someone's comfortable, it's like carry on. And those lower level needs, they're the base needs, and they're nice to have, and they make people feel safe and secure. And the higher level needs are the ideal needs that make people feel passionate about life, but some people are passionate about their life being comfortable.
Yeah, because every soul has a different purpose as well. So yeah.
So it's like meeting people where they're at. It's like wherever you're moved to be. And you know, your friend that's saying I'm not obsessed with growth. It's like he's got a frame there that he's running about growth and obsession with growth. But if that's where he's at, it's fine.
So Mads, is that just I don't know who was just talking then, Louise. Just on that, is it that two things. One is people see and realize up to their current state of understanding, number one, but also the false belief that potentially the false belief that it'll be okay. So which is looking at the other side, which is why people with the deficiency, they do things, which is the cognitive dissonance, where they do things which they know is bad for them. They're deciding that they will do that, such as smoking or drinking too much or whatever. So looking at the reverse, where people purposely don't do it, where is that on Maslow's? What are they not wanting to recognize?
So we're talking generally here because everyone's different, right? But so one of the things that really resonated for me as a human being is I read it was a blog or it was something and it said Abraham Maslow said that we get a thrill out of the godlike possibilities we see in ourselves in our most perfect moments, right? We get we get an actual thrill out of what's possible for us in our most perfect moments, and yet we simultaneously shiver at these very same possibilities. To your point, Kevin, what's true for a lot of people, what resonated for me is that there was a fear about stepping into that potential because one of those lower level needs may not be met. I go and do this, I may not belong. Yeah, I might have a belief that somewhere along the way I've got a belief, a thought that I've said yes to, that I'm not good enough. So even though I get this thrill about what could be possible for me, I've got a belief that's stopping me from taking that leap. And that's where we get hooked. I've got a self-belief structure running that around my self-esteem, for example, there hasn't been a need met there, which hasn't been recognized. It's outside of my awareness. So I get this thrill about what's possible, and yet I'm scared of it as well, and I shiver. And that's what you're talking about, is what happens for people. But we can't generalize because everyone's got their own self-structures and own belief structures around that.
So bringing that to Louise's point, that's with sort of like relationships where somebody is attracted to somebody who has or looking at the growth, and it's what they want, but there is a fear there.
There it is, right? And that could be true for Louise's friend. Yeah.
Okay.
Saying, I don't want to move in, I don't want to step outside, and I don't want to jump into these possibilities for myself, because that could mean something around the lower level needs. It's basically saying, that quote is saying, basically, we fear our own greatness at some level. Now, I can relate to that. Can anyone else? Is it just me? Oh, good job. Whew. Nice to hear that. Right. And so, like, we get
people want change, but they don't want to change.
Well, they want to change, but it's like they almost lack the courage to step out, right? We get this glimpse of ourselves in our most perfect moments. Right? It's like, you know, when you're driving in the car, you're an amazing singer, right? Anyone an amazing singer in the car? And then you get the opportunity to sing in front of a group, and it's like, oh, no. Doesn't come out quite the same, does it? Or your kids go, Mum, shut up. You sound terrible. Oh, okay. Well, I want to belong. So I'll stop singing. And so it's like we almost fear our greatness. And this is what moving into the qualities of self-actualized human beings, it's like an invitation. Who here in this group, like have you experienced what another human being that you consider self-actualized, and it's just like, whoa, I'm so inspired by that person. Anyone that's sort of achieved and stepped into their potential, you know, they've stepped into that fear, they've taken that leap. It's like an invitation for us to do the same. So that's why we want to bring you guys together. We want to talk about that. We want that for each other. I want to be hearing, well, you know, I stepped into my potential. Here's what I did this month. It's like, whoa, we can celebrate that about each other. Because it can't be just all theory and go, here's what this is and here's what that is. Like, get bored with that, right? That's a challenge.
In response to your question about have we seen that, you know, I see that with children in my life all the time. They don't worry about money. They know that they're loved. You know, everything's taken care of. And they're just these, amazing balls of energy and, you know, go get them.
Yeah.
And I love that until, you know, the external environments start to...
Yeah, until they start running some of their own frames or get gifted them. Maslow says self-actualizers, that they're not, you know, ordinary people that get something added to them. They don't go out and get something. They don't go out and get this X factor. They're ordinary people, kids, with nothing taken away. So it's not like we have to go and get something to become self-actualized. We just got to like reclaim this, like rather than have stuff taken away from us. Get gifted a frame that somehow, you know, you're not pretty, you're not smart, you're not this, you're not that. We get told our whole lives who we are. We're student of the week, we're not student of the week, right? We're cool, we're not cool. We're too short, we're too tall, we're too fat, we're too thin. Like, it's like constantly getting stuff taken away. Go.
Hello.
Hello.
So I thought, like, someone that has always had a belief structure of like working towards achievements. I guess I've always looked at self-actualization as, you know, an ultimate state that you get to, but through engaging with the coaching room, I am broadening my perspective to understand that it's the evolution and the journey that we go on. What I'm hearing you talk about now is that perhaps you can, or individuals may step into a state of self-actualized at various times.
Sure.
Is that what I'm understanding, that you can?
Various times, and we can also fall back to sleep, to our old habits, our own drives, our old programmed patterns. You know, like when I hear you say about achievements, it's like, what's the achievements on behalf of? Yeah. So it's easy to fall back to sleep to that, our programmed way of being.
Yes. Yeah. So when before you're talking about, you know, children, looking at them in this beautiful experience with all their basic needs satisfied, in that moment, perhaps that individual is at a state of self-actualization.
Well, you think about what I'm understanding, child, right? Everyone experienced children in some capacity. Have you ever seen like a 2-year-old or around a 2-year-old, and they're with mum or dad, and they're a little bit interested, they're a little bit curious around the world. Like you might be at a party and they sort of spot you. I saw it with 2 twins in a toddler, in a trolley yesterday. We were in a cafe, and this little twin sort of spotted me, and sort of I smiled at the little twin, and the little one smiled back at me, and then went back to mum. Sort of addressed itself. Sorry. Addressed itself. I'll turn my phone off. sort of check back in with mum. Oh, am I safe here? This lady smiled at me. Am I safe? And then slowly comes around, smiles at me again, and I go, hello. And back to mum, right? What's happening is this drive, this innate drive to self-actualize, to step out, what the little girl knew, but needs to be sure the safety needs met, needs to be sure that she's safe to reach out, to let go of mum's skirts and to step out into the world. And so that's what children are doing, self-actualizing. But let's say it's not safe for whatever reason, that safety need's not there and not being met, that puts a limitation on them actualizing. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Just let that land for a bit, and if it doesn't, bring it into next month's session. Let's talk about that some more, because I want you guys to start noticing this in the world. I really just noticed it yesterday with these two little kids. It's like, and then it's a twin girl and boy. They were about 18 months. The boy wasn't having a bar of it. He's like, I'm not looking at that lady because he's safety needs. He's needing to stay connected with mum. But the little girl's like, I'm going to step out.
Okay, so it's like the act or the mindset of moving towards untapping something that's different or greater potential for yourself in that moment.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you've got a deficiency, say in your self-esteem needs, like don't show up like that, because you might be seen a certain way, you might be seen as less valuable. You're not going to move to that. You're not going to step into that possibility. You're going to have this stirring in you that you want to. You're going to see that, oh, this is possible for me. But there's contraction because you go, somehow there'll be a withdrawal in my self-esteem bank if I do that. Yeah.
So, Maz, potentially there's trauma in the childhood of people, then that is the obstacle for them because they haven't got
that safety need met. Yeah. Especially that belonging need, or that sense of self-esteem. Their esteem is conditional on the outside world, and so they're constantly seeking. And we're going to see that. We're going to see that if we're coaching with them, we're going to see that in what their coaching topic's about. Great point. I want to get into the qualities because that's what our topic is about. But I see your hand, Sandy.
I just wanted to ask about, so with the example you gave of the twins, and then, us as grown-ups and adults. So we step in and out. Is it fair to say that we step in and out of that self-actualizing to reevaluate our basic needs? Because obviously things change and, life carries on. Those needs change, your basic needs change. So is it fair to say that that's a...
Well, I think if I've heard your question right, we can fall back to sleep. Like take this, for example, right? We could go, oh, let's run a self-actualizing conversation with Mads. And then Harriet goes, oh, we've got 100 people booked. And I'm like, oh, right. So what's going on there? Oh, I can see there's this stirring that you go in that belonging need or the self-esteem need. So we can stop ourselves from stepping into the unknown. We can stop ourselves from stepping into what's possible for us. I see it as a trainer. Sometimes when people share in our group, there's this shift in skin color because they want to belong, and they don't want to ask what if I ask the wrong question? What if I ask a silly question? What if I share something?
Absolutely.
And I can relate to that. I've been there in my life as well. That's why I want us to come together as a group where we can drop all that, step into the unknown. So not sure if that answered your question, but I'm mindful about time. So
Sorry. Thanks.
So let's look at, anyone want to hear some of the qualities of what it is to be self-actualized? I'm sure these are going to resonate with you. Has a superior, here are some of the qualities. As a human being, you have a superior perception of reality, an objective view, being able to get objective to reality, what's really going on here, rather than subject to reality. I think this is wrong, I feel this. Objective, being able to objectively look at it. An increased acceptance of yourself, an increased acceptance of others, an increased acceptance of nature. Think about, to Kevin's point earlier around COVID, there's some people when that was all going on going, this is just okay, this is what's happening, this is what's happening for other people are living in fear, other people are, and it's like, it's okay. I love this one. And this is something that's been really true for me as a human. Increase spontaneity in behavior. Not so rule bound, right? Expressing, being honest, going, oh, you know what? I don't know the answer to that. Being okay with not knowing everything. Being vulnerable. How cool would that be, just to be a bit more spontaneous? Right. Increased attachment of things, not clinging to things as much. Increased sense of autonomy, taking full responsibility for how life unfolds. Not beholden to culture. More resistance to this social conditioning that exists. I mean, think about social media, the world we live in now. Like, I've got teenage, well, they hate me calling them teenagers because 19 and 20. I watch what the social conditioning that those kids are exposed to day in, day out. Like with their phones and Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok and all this stuff. And it's like social conditioning is like self-actualized qualities, not to be, you know, there's a resistance to that, not to have to comply with the norm. And so it's, you know, comfortable with being yourself, even if it's a bit unpopular. My husband will often say, you can't say that. And I go, I can and I will. I can and I did. Because he's beholden to social conditions. You can't speak like that. You can't. I was like, why not? Anyone have
difference
that?
there? The difference there, Madeline, is that when you're speaking your truth and you are more mature in your actualization process, you've already vetted that in a kind of a way. Yeah. And the permission is given to honestly and openly say what you need to say.
Sure. And then also, thank you, Melody, and also not to be had when someone resists that, or someone says you can't say that, is you don't need to defend your position on that and go, yeah, well,
not at all. Not at all.
I hear that you can't say that, and that's okay. Yeah. And so comfortable with being themselves. I love this one. Appreciate emotions. Open to emotion and just to experience emotion richly and fully. Appreciate emotions, whether it's about, you know, just move to weep about something, or just move to experience joy, or just to appreciate all the beauty of emotions. You know, I watched this myself with my sister and I. I've got quite a number of siblings. I know I'm talking about myself because you guys are going to start doing that in the next few months. I'm giving you this month to be a little bit quieter. But, you know, my father died in December, and I can really appreciate the emotion of that. Whereas my sister is like, oh, need to move on. Dad wouldn't want us to be teary about it. You know what he was like? It's like, sweetheart, why can't you just appreciate the pain of that? You've lost your father. And so it's like appreciating the emotion of that. Now, if I feel emotional about the loss of Dad, it's because I loved him so much. And I appreciate the pain of that. And then we get this higher frequency of peak experience. We're sort of in this flow more often. Yeah. We are better able to deal with relationships. We're more creative. We want to create things.
Higher sense of humour.
Yeah, nice.
See things much more funnily.
Yes. And a deep knowledge of who you are. Like self-actualizers, they know who they are. They know themselves. And they're,
you know, oh, sorry. I don't know if is Charlotte speaking.
Hey, Charlotte.
I have to. Is anybody else I'm having this interesting dichotomy of going, and that's the private me, but the work me is yeah.
Interesting, right? It's because and so it's a great inquiry, Charlotte, to go, what is it, the work me? Because it's like, is there a work you that you go, bye work, Charlotte, have a good day. You go and you go and play small now. And then the home you is like this self-actualizer. It's like, what's the need there, the basic need that's not being met somewhere to inquire into. It's very cool what you just said, because I think it's true. It's the masks we wear. Number of masks we put on. Thank you, Charlotte. Constantly nurturing our own talents. Driven by intrinsic motivation. Self-actualizers aren't driven by lack. They're doing things not because they need to. They're doing things because they want to. They're not going to work because they have to. They're going to work because they want to. They aren't in a relationship because they have to. They're in a relationship because they want to. They choose that. They're driven from the inside, autonomous that I spoke to earlier. They have a non-valuing, non-judging, non-condemning attitude towards others. They take on other people as part of this amazing world. They're not there for judgment or acceptance. More loving, but at the same time need less love. I just saw the chat. It flipped up quick. Was that Brad? You'd like to review these qualities? I can probably put a document together for you and send them out. Would anyone like that? Because I have got them in my own notes here, so I'm happy to do that. I haven't managed the chat as well today, but I'll get this. This is what I love to. Self-actualizers, they want to contribute to the world. Isn't that beautiful, right? Just to contribute to the world, and they're willing to admit and correct mistakes. They've got self-discipline. They express anger in a healthy way. They live to experience joy rather than experience pain. They live in the present moment and make conscious decisions. So I've got like Paige, I'm mindful of our time. And so it's like, we want to step into all that's possible. And so where do you start? Where do you start with this? It's like a smorgasbord, right? Is Sonia, are you wanting to share?
Yeah, I was, because what you just said then was something that I was thinking about. You're saying about stepping into what's possible. And then I was thinking, well, what's those steps to do that? What do we need to stop resisting? Or what are our fears? Or so yeah, that's where I was going, what you're saying. So
great question. What is the answer to that for you? What do you need to stop?
Well, one of the things would be this fear of failure or the fear of not belonging or something like that. Yeah. But then I feel like that needs to then, if you think about it in terms of the hierarchy of needs, probably going into those social needs or those self needs and really exploring that.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. It's like you just hit the nail there. It's like exploring what is this sense of belonging, this sense, like what is it, like this fear of failure on behalf of, if I fail, what does that mean? And then
what if you succeed?
Yeah, great question. It's like looking at what are the stories, what are what have you played out in mind to tell yourself that potentially failure means something that's not. Yeah. So great inquiry to make, Sonia. Thank you for sharing that. And so it's like, what do I do? Okay, show me what to do. It's like, well, here's a couple of things that I'd like you to maybe play with for this month or not. Identify your gifts.
Madeline, I can't make it next month, but I'd like to make a commitment to listening to Noel. And I know you're recording. So is there a way if we miss a week that we can watch the recording?
Just let Harriet know, and we'll be able to send you out the recordings.
We're uploading them all to YouTube. So
amazing.
After the meeting, we'll send out the link with the YouTube link so you can rewatch it if you missed it.
Yeah, thanks, Harriet.
Love you to come if you can. Identify your gifts. What are your amazing gifts? You've all got uniqueness. You've got these abundance of gifts within you. It's not just in some, it's not in the extraordinary people. It's in the ordinary people. Guess what? We're ordinary people with nothing taken away. How awesome is that? Love that. What are your highest dreams? What are your highest visions? Do you know what they are? Or do when you start to think about what your highest dreams and visions are, you go, yeah, but I couldn't do that. There it is. There's the power from outside having power over you. Heteronomy. What's your talent? I see your hand, Sasha. I'll come to you in a sec. What's your talent? What's the uniqueness that you bring to the world? Now, mine is about connection with other human beings. I love people. Do you know what your uniqueness is? And then what can you grow and develop? Sasha, you have a question or a sharing? Where did you go, Sasha? Come on. All right, so that is a wrap. Thank you for being part of our conversations with Madeline. Love being with you all. I've done way too much talking. That won't happen next month. Would love to hear from you. If you connect with me on the community. If you're not part of our Facebook community, please join our Facebook community and chat away. Let's get some topics going. Let's get some real energy around that. And please invite people. It's fee-free. It's not about, we're not wanting any, this is not transactional. This is about growing this space. This is about coming together and moving in. Now, some of your friends may go, oh, I don't really know anything about that. It's like, just come and be with some people that are about tapping into potential. So share it. The more it grows, the more we want to commit to this. We want to make this big. If we get it big enough, we're going to create community days and do all sorts of wonderful things. So this is a joint responsibility. I need your help in it. I can't do this alone. And Harriet wants to grow it from the back end, but we need your help. We cannot do this by ourselves. We good? Any sharings before we finish up?
Thanks, Madeline, for your beautiful, generous heart.
Oh, you're so welcome.
So nice to hear you again. It's been a long time.
Yes.
Feel it, Thank you.
Back in the room soon, Sandy.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Madeline. Thanks, everybody.
Nice to see you all again.
Thank you.
Nice to connect with some of you I haven't met.
Thanks, Madeline. See you next time.
Bye.
So long. I won't sing because it is.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
So Kevin's laughing because he's heard me sing.